Hello everybody and
Hello.
Welcome to the Fireside Chat, the 7,486th edition thereof on this autumnal evening. A wind blowing in from the southeast, bringing with it the promise of not much except slightly cooler weather today. I don't think it's going to rain, do you?
I don't. I'm just glad it's not blowing the smoke into our faces.
It is blowing
you don't have
that
to watch
way.
us weep
Yes.
through Fireside Chat.
We'll put Brent there though, so in case you do want to watch someone weep, Brent will be in tears by the end of the drive, at least the end of the Fireside Chat. So a jam-packed full show we have for you tonight, of course. You're supposed to say that when you're hosting these things.
Absolutely.
Basically, we're going to be talking about leopards. We've got a number of different leopard clips to show you. We'll be looking at the habituation of the runner, aka Gijima. That is the Zulu term for run. We'll be looking at Corolla and chatting a little bit about her babies, and obviously we can talk about the imminent perhaps babies, or we'll talk about the mating that's been going on with Tingana and Tundi, and then of course Tundi, at least Tingana's other offspring with Shadow in the culvert on a particularly stupid piece of ground. We'll talk about the stupidity of the den sites chosen by the genetic legacy that is the Corolla dynasty. And then we have another one, that's a bit of leopard comedy for you. Tingana attempting to do things which a leopard should find relatively easy, but so far has failed to do so this week. We would like to talk to you, of course, during the course of this Fireside Chat, so if you have any questions about the leopards, or indeed anything to do with Safari Live while we're sitting here next to this fire for the next 25 or 30 minutes, that would be marvellous. Hashtag SafariLive, questions@wildearth.tv, or you can talk to us on the YouTube chat stream. I don't know why I find that so difficult to say, but I get it wrong just about every time.
You mix it up all the time.
All the time.
You chat tube stream.
I say the chat tube.
There's an elephant chasing a zebra around.
So there is.
The clearing.
Yes, there is an elephant, very cross, chasing zebra. The zebra are coming this way.
It's a stampede.
It is a stampede. It's actually quite impressive.
It's lovely.
I'm sorry. Oh, Brian's filming him.
Brian's
you
gone
see,
that
Brian
way.
is extremely skilled. Well done, Brian.
Excellent work.
Good job.
I promise you there was an elephant there, though, just to clarify, because I'm not sure you can see it.
I can't see it. But there is the blinding lights of Brent Leo Smith on his way here in the recalcitrant Rusty. So pleased that the hyenas
I know,
are back.
I know. It's the most exciting moment of my
Isn't
day.
it wonderful?
I went rushing there yesterday afternoon after I heard that news, and I got there and there was nobody home.
No.
It was terribly disappointing, but
Dreadfully
they're back.
sad. Yes, they are back. And Kirsten says they've grown substantially in the last 2 weeks, which I suppose you won't notice the difference too much, but you haven't been away for 2 weeks. And
I don't know. I feel like if I miss out on them for 2 days, they've grown.
It's amazing.
Astounding.
Yeah. And we'll probably have some new ones even. I mean, that clan seems to be multiplying at a quite terrific rate. Anyway, I think while we wait for Brent Leo Smith to come in here, he's going to tell us all about the habituation of leopards. But while we sort of wire him up, as it were, let's have a look at the clip of this magnificent new male leopard called Gijima. Have a look at.
So I'm actually going to just try to sneak forward an inch so you can see his face. But I'm going to stay far away. There we go. So it's very, very important when dealing with unrelaxed animals, and with all animals, in fact, is not to drive straight at them. So I'm just going to keep talking normally, and this is one of the best ways to habituate an unrelaxed male leopard. And you can see there, he's moving his head, trying to get a reaction from us to see if we've actually spotted him. So you can see this is a really huge progress. He hasn't run away from us, he's stood up and he's walked away from us. So that's a massive, massive bit of progress. The fact that he's laid down flat, he's not nearly as perturbed with our presence as he was a bit earlier. And while we've been sitting here, I've been slow speaking a little bit louder and a little bit louder, just to get him used to the sound of a human voice. It's just hope he relaxes and carries on feeding. I don't want him to rush down the tree, so I'm not going to move at all from where I am now. Look at that, isn't that incredible? Look at this, guys, we're so much closer, and he's almost giving us the quintessential leopard silhouette. And look at that, he's still feeding. We're probably about, oh, wait for it, here it comes, the back of the leopard ears in the fork of the tree with the fading light behind him. There it is. Isn't this amazing? Just that little bit of patience. has really paid off with this guy. We're now probably 50% closer than where we were.
Right, hello everybody. So a magnificent sort of clip there, I think. I mean, not the most impressive visuals of a leopard that you've ever seen, but some highly skilled operations from the man to my left-hand side, currently sitting in the smoke, Brent Leo Smith.
Thank you very much, James,
Yes.
and hello everyone. I know you just saw me, but I magically appeared out of the darkness. Yeah, it was a really exciting and thrilling experience. I do love habituating leopards, and I've been fortunate enough to do it in some other places in Africa. And patience is key, and with a lot of what we do out here, seeing those incredible sightings, getting close to animals, you must realize there's been a lot of work and a lot of patience that has gone into this. So we are able to bring you these fantastic visuals all the way from deepest, darkest.
Well, yes. I think in the Sabi Sands, of course, we don't have to do it as often as this because we see them from when they are tiny little cubs. And so the leopards kind of grow up very used to us. So, I mean, where do you think Gijima's come from?
I guess Kruger, in the most sense. I mean, from the point where we have been seeing them around the Buffelshoek waterhole, it's probably about 4 kilometers to the Kruger boundary. And there's no tourist roads in that western section of Kruger. There's no private concessions there. So very possibly he's been living in one of those wilderness areas in the Kruger National Park that people never get to go to.
So I mean, by wilderness area, Brent means, of course, an area where people are not allowed to go. So they have a few of them in the Kruger where there's no walking, there is no driving, and just researchers go in every so often. So I think that's probably exactly where he's come from. And you reckon he's how old?
But close to 5, I'd say, 4 to 5 years old. Closer to the 5 side. He hasn't quite got the dewlap, but it's on its way.
And he looks to be in pretty good condition too.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And also no big nicks on his ears, no big scratches. So I don't think he's challenging for territory just yet. So there were reports of Corolla mating with an unrelaxed male in the north. I don't think it's him. I think it's another one. I don't think he's old enough yet.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
Have you had any experience of habituating leopards? Am I dropping you in it now?
No, I confess I absolutely do not. I've seen lots of unrelaxed leopards racing across the road and then coming, you know, going and watching them disappear into the bush in front of me. But I've never spent a great deal of time with unrelaxed leopards. I've never been lucky enough to have the opportunity.
I have to confess I haven't done a huge amount of it either, simply because I mean, most of my work has been around here in the Timbavati up north and Sabi Sands here, and because we see them from so young, we often don't take the time to habituate them. The other thing is, of course, Gijima lives largely on Buffelshoek, which is it's not quite as actively tracked as Djuma is, or as I suppose Torchwood is to some extent, but nothing like the southern reserves there of Cheetah Plains and Chitwa and those properties where Arathusa traverses, and indeed further south onto the river where Londolozi and Mala Mala operate. So I think that's rather a fascinating new development going on here, and whether or not he was the one mating with Corolla is interesting. Now, you were seeing Mvula while I was away.
Yes. Now, Mvula has regressed. So he's become a dispersal male again, like he would have been when he was young. So as he was moving around, he would have snuck between other males' territories. And now, as he's got old, and Tingana has literally forced him out of the 99% of his territory, and then Shivambalan, which is one of Corolla's offspring, is coming back from the Kruger and pushing. And he had that little spot around Cheetah Plains where he seemed to avoid. But now Shivambalan and Tingana have been seen there in the last 2 weeks. So he is literally popping up everywhere. He even popped out well inside Anderson's territory, I heard from the guys in the west.
So that's interesting. By dispersal, I mean, you called him a dispersal male, did you?
Yeah.
I mean, basically a male without territory, without fixed abode, as it were, and that's because he ain't a young man anymore. And we reckon the Panthera guys say he's about 13. 13, yeah. Which is a pretty good age for a male leopard. Now, you were at a rangers meeting recently. We've got a question from Susie regarding Patella and what's happened to her. Were there any updates from there?
It seems very sad situation. For those of you who missed it, Patella was a female leopard that we hardly ever saw. Very beautiful. She's sort of the top of her territory just touched on our southern boundary of Arathusa. But we had a report from some of the guides a couple of weeks ago that she had been suspected bitten by a snake and that she wasn't looking good in the last sighting that she was seen in, and she hasn't been seen since. Oh! Such a cross elephant.
There's an elephant there chasing the zebra still. Right? And we might stoke the fire.
Slight distraction there. So it does seem as though, it's a very sad situation, it does seem as though that Quitile has died, and because she had 3 small cubs, it's most likely, well, it's absolutely certain if she has died, they will also have died at some point along the line.
And we did have some questions a little bit earlier about would we go and rescue those cubs, and of course, no, we wouldn't. And there are a number of reasons for that, the most obvious being, of course, that these things are normally in tragedy, and B, where would we put them? Would we subject them to a life of living in a rehabilitation centre for the rest of their days? And that's not anything against rehab centres, but it's not necessarily the life that a leopard was born to.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
It is not.
No.
I saw, yesterday I was very lucky and some friends took me on a game drive, and I saw her last daughter who's moved into her territory, a female by the name of Takani. So she's about 3 years old now, and she's basically taken over the core of Quitile's territory already.
And does she have that beautiful golden colour?
She's very pretty leopard.
The legacy of the Sunset Bend female from Londolozi.
Leopards. Oh.
Wonderful, marvellous. Just so gold compared with the yellow legacy that is Corolla's, basically. The very kind of pale yellow, lemon yellow versus that golden. So distinctive.
It is, it's incredible. And in the Sabi Sands, it's even at Londolozi, you had both of those legacies side by side.
Yes.
And very visible.
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on to our next section here, and this is the clip of Corolla. Again, not wonderful visuals, but just lovely to see her again. Have a look.
Oh, is she going to take it up a tree? Is she going to take it into this tambuti? Come on, girl. That's a good idea. She is looking up into the tree, and that tambuti would be a perfect spot for her to hide a kill like this. Here she goes. She's going to take it up into the tree. There she goes. Awesome. Yay, that's exactly what we want to see, so that she doesn't run the risk of losing it to any raging lions or hyenas. Well done, Corolla.
It was an absolutely magical sighting that we enjoyed. She actually gave us a serious runaround that morning. Brent may or may not have found himself slightly with a wheel in the air in the drainage line, trying to follow up on monkey alarm calls. And we went back there that afternoon and we found her on a Nyala kill. And just watching her, just seeing her hoist that kill, seeing her looking after herself. She left that kill that night, went straight back to where she's keeping her cubs to the south of our boundary around Little Gowrie, and then walked the precise on top of her tracks. She walked the exact same path. Back again. I found her tracks and then I found her on the road, walking over her tracks. It was incredible. And so nice to spend a bit more time with her. I haven't seen her in a really long time.
And an adult Nyala?
It was a baby Nyala.
Baby Nyala.
Yeah,
Okay.
very young.
Marvellous. So her cubs seem to be fine, and they had their second month birth
On the
tomorrow.
second, or today.
Today is the
second.
third.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Yesterday? Yes.
Yes.
Yesterday. They were 2 months old yesterday. So like I said yesterday on Drive, we will be viewing them if we see them again. And you've had reports of them climbing trees already.
They were found this morning at the top of a marula tree, apparently chasing each other and playing. So
Oh, this is exciting.
That is wonderful.
this is the reason we wait for that
Yeah.
2-month period. It gives them that extra bit of opportunity. If a hyena happens into us or a lion, they are able to get up the trees.
But a good opportunity there will segue into the idiocy with which those two leopards have chosen their dens.
Yes.
Both in culverts on main roads. Shadow at the moment on the Triple M break, right?
Yes.
And how long has she been there?
About a week or so, I would say. And it's fascinating. Both Corolla and Shadow have done exactly the same thing, both on main roads, not in the same place, but still around these culverts in the main road where there are delivery trucks, there's constant traffic. And I've been racking my brains trying to think if there's any logic behind it, and I don't think so. I think it's just, and it's a main highway for the lions of the reserve as well.
That to me is what's so odd about it. But I mean, to me the logic is that a leopard is not a digger, really.
No.
And so while Shadow did give birth in a termite mine, I've actually never heard of that happening before. You have, but I'd never heard of that before. Caves and little places where they can, you know, put their little cubs are in short order here. There are not many of them around. So those culverts are obviously seemingly ready-made. They're so used to the vehicles, they don't give a continental about the vehicles. Yeah, that's how it is.
Very, very.
Yeah.
I mean, the male lions walked over the top of those cubs.
That is the one thing, is that they're a major lion highway as well.
Yeah.
Now, Michelle, you're in Sweden, and your question has slipped my mind. I'm hoping Brent has got it.
I thought you were listening.
Oh, no, I've got it. I remember it now. Michelle, I'm going to pass it to Brent. Michelle would like to know, Brent, will those cubs be travelling to kills at this age?
Well, with Shadow, definitely not. They're still far too young. Corolla, I have seen them that young, but I would probably say maybe another couple of weeks before she's going to start moving them big distances. But I have seen cubs that young being moved before. Actually, we were talking about Sunset Bend female. Her daughter, they used to take them from even younger than 2 months onto kills. So
I mean, they'll start eating meat at sort of 4 weeks, basically, if it's around, but they will only wean at 3 months or just over. And I mean, that's pretty early if you think about it. A hyena's 6 months.
Yep.
And we are, of course, between 2 years and 4 years in the case of some people. And lions also very little time. So they do have to wean very quickly. They do have to get onto meat very quickly indeed. And then, of course, the possibility of new cubs. Possibly.
Yes.
Now, we'll have a look a little bit later, just after the comedy of Tingana. We'll have a look a little bit later at some of the mating that's been going on between Thandi and Tingana, and that, of course, is hopefully going to play into some more cubs for us to watch. So we'll have hopefully 6 or 7 to view every single day for the next 2 years. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, that's a very exciting prospect.
Right. On that note, let's go and have a look at Tingana and his slightly comical behaviour with a hapless and very dead, very heavy warthog.
He has eaten a fair whack of it already, and hopefully he is going to hoist this one, unlike the last kill we had with him. Oh, he's going to move the carcass. Look at those flies. No, silly, there's a branch in the way. Yes, no, that's not showing that you're a very clever leopard, my friend. But he's big, so brute power is what he will use. Brute strength. This is quite amusing. Yes, no one ever accused royalty of being smart, so he is definitely the king of Gijima, although not using his brain at the moment.
Oh, look, this is amazing. Go on, take it up, boy. Look at the strength. I'm not going to move, everybody. Let's just wait. He's taken it right to the base, and he's been eating very kind of uneasily, looking around. Maybe he can smell a hyena. But suddenly flies have exploded into the air off that carcass. Here he goes. There he goes. Oh, that's beautiful. That is just fantastic. Oh, come on. That's not very impressive at all.
So that was possibly one of the more comical moments I've had with a big male leopard like that. One would think he could have figured that out, but I suppose we are all allowed a sort of a silly day. But it was amazing. He sort of reminded me of one of the big dogs I had as a kid, a bourbon, and sort of holding onto the end of a rope and not letting go. And then sort of eventually you just think, okay, if I just keep pulling, it's gonna work. No. So shake it again, and it was just, he just wasn't having a good day, as you found later on that evening.
Yeah, I mean, I drove once a big cat trainer who told me that a leopard was as clever as a dolphin. Tingana is not in that class. That was not a complicated puzzle to work out. That was pretty gormless behaviour. He then climbed the tree with the pig. He'd eaten, well, a good probably another quarter of it or so. So it probably weighed, I mean, that was a big warthog, so let's say between 90 and 100 kilograms, almost 200 pounds, if it was a big adult, and I think it looked like a big adult. And he then tried to take it up the tree. And why he let go, I don't know. If he was just having a weak moment, if his claws were a bit blunt at the moment, I don't know what it was. But it was, the funny part of that, of course, is that he looked so embarrassed at the end of it. And well, he should have, because it was not a particularly impressive attempt. Now, a leopard, of course, is able to lift twice its own body weight in theory. But I mean, I've never been I've never believed that. Because, I mean, in Tingana's case, that would probably be a 150 kilogram animal.
He's not going to lift up.
No,
I mean, that's the size of an adult female kudu.
If it was Mr. Anderson, on the other hand, you never
well,
know.
yes, but he's a big
He
fellow,
hoisted a
isn't
baby giraffe.
Did he?
Straight up.
Really?
Yeah.
So a baby giraffe, when it's born, is about 100 kilos as well.
Yeah.
So that's 220 pounds, so that's pretty impressive. Right. We weren't going to show you this today because we saw the mating leopards this morning. Well, you saw them, you saw bush moving.
I saw bush moving and some noise coming from the general vicinity.
Okay.
That was the extent of the sighting this morning.
This afternoon, Brent fearlessly went in on foot and managed to find them, which was a great relief to all of us because we got to spend a good deal of time with Tingana and Tundi. So have a look at this very new spanky clip. Oh, here we go. Here we go. The aggression is quite something. What I meant there was spanky new clip. I'm not sure what a spanky clip is to be. So if you could, the trouble with being live, of course, is that you can't take it back. Whatever you say is now in the ether forever and ever. So if you could blot that from your memories, that would be great. I don't know what a spanky clip is. Brent, can you talk us through your emotions? You have not forgotten it already. Could you talk us through, rather, your experience of walking in on them on foot?
Well, as you know, this wind has been tearing around today, and it's quite gusty, so it's not in a single direction. And the last time I walked in there was before all this rain, and it wasn't quite so intimidating, but I normally track quite quickly, but today I really took my time. I mean, 1 foot in front of each other, stop, listen. I won't lie, when I spotted them, and they hadn't spotted me, my heart rate definitely climbed a little bit, because as I sort of turned away to start walking out of the block, they started mating. So that noise, I was like, turned around, okay, no, they haven't seen me yet. Let me go around.
They weren't chasing you,
No, they weren't chasing me, yes.
What a deep relief that must have been. Yes. And then they came out into the open, and of course we sat there with them for a good 2.5 hours.
Wonderful.
Mated a number of times, which was very interesting. And it's always interesting. Now, Tundi, if I'm not mistaken, is Shadow's sister, correct?
Yeah.
From the same litter?
From the same litter.
So they are full sisters. And of course we're not sure exactly who the father of Corolla is, but there is a possibility, of course, that Corolla, Tundi and Shadow are not just mother and 2 daughters, but indeed mother, daughters and sisters, which immediately complicates the relationship between all of their cubs. But we won't necessarily go down that route. But it is interesting because, of course, it's not a problem for leopards or any other cat for, they say, 6 generations.
6 generations.
And it is just, they don't live off the same standards we do.
Yes.
And what's interesting is Tingana's mated with all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Corolla, Shadow and Tundi. So at least despite his clumsiness, the ladies are still finding him more appealing.
Yeah. Even though he can't tree a warthog and has the sort of puzzle-solving ability of a completely gormless piece of wood.
He's like a bodybuilder. He's buff and he's pretty, and he's just not much between the ears.
No, no, not at all. And his size, do you compare his size with Anderson and with Mvula?
Sorry, I got completely distracted.
Have you seen Anderson?
I've never seen Anderson.
Okay.
So I've heard
big.
Stories.
He's bigger.
He's much bigger. He's bigger than the biggest male leopard I thought could not get a bigger male leopard, which was the Campan male. And I've actually compared photographs of them at the same age, and he is physically quite a lot bigger. And when you see his neck, I mean, he looks like a lioness. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'd guess him. It's very difficult to be completely accurate. I'd say Tingana is probably 80 to 85 kilograms.
Do you think that big?
Yeah, I do. I think he's just got
Okay.
that weight, and I think Anderson's over 90, which
Okay.
is monster as
Yeah.
leopards go. I think the largest leopard ever recorded was 98 kilograms.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
How big?
98.
98. Okay, that's a bus. That's bigger than me. Well, that's not hard. It's definitely bigger than Jamie.
Definitely big.
Jen B, quickly, you wanted to know about, well, given the fact that Tingana is mating with all three of these females, is that not a problem for genetic diversity? In a human population, it might be, but not with a leopard population. Chances are, of course, he is now 9 years old. He will probably not last beyond 13. He's almost 10, so I mean that's 3 years. By the time, if there are females in these 2 litters or 3 litters, hopefully soon, if they do come to maturity, yes, he might mate with them, but that kind of I don't like to use the term incest. I meant inbreeding will not then carry on because he will have to remove himself after that. So it's not. I mean from a human population point of view, and probably many mammals, it would be a problem, but for the cats, not so much. Right, it is now time for a little song, just
Our
before we
favourite
say goodbye to you. Well, it's my favourite time. You chaps, of course. Brent Leo Smith sometimes dances for us. You might do that tonight. I'm trying to convince Jamie that she should sing for us, of course.
Which should be the equivalent of Tingana's comedy hour, just different.
No, that's Brent playing the drums.
Yeah.
Scott playing the drums. The song I've chosen for you, that's very rude because he's not here. The song I've chosen is from that wonderful Paul Simon album, Graceland, and it is called The Boy in the Bubble, the opening track. A beautiful song. Thank you very much for a wonderful week. It's been lovely to be back here. Well, I've only been back for 4 days or so. But we will see you tomorrow, Monday. Which is the same as every other day for us.
Pretty much.
We're very
At
lucky.
6 o'clock in the morning. Stay safe and happy wherever you are. This is The Boy in the Bubble by Paul Simon. Dance anytime.
How did you get going first?
Was a slow day, and the sun was beating on the zone just by the side of the road. There was a bright light, shattering the shop windows. A bomb in the baby carriage was wired to the radio. These other days of miracle and wonder. This is a long distance call. The way the camera follows us in slow-mo. The way we look to a song, oh yeah. And the way we look to a distant constellations died in the corner of the sky. These are the days of miracles and wonders. So don't cry, baby, don't cry, don't cry. That's good rhythm there. The dry wind swept across the desert and a girl into the circle of the earth. And the dead sand, the fallen of the children, the mothers and the fathers and the automatic girl. These are the days of miracle and wonder. This is a long distance call. The way the camera follows us in slow-mo. The way we look to a song, oh yeah. The way we look to a distant constellation that's dying in a corner of the sky. These are the days of miracle and wonder. So don't cry, baby, don't cry, don't cry. Turn around, jump shot, it's everybody jump start. It's every generation throws the hero off a pop chart. Medicine is magic, magical is all. There goes the boy in the bubble and the baby with the baboon on. I believe this other day, some lays that's in the jungle.